all started off with the sale of personal services. And so you go into the market and you trade your personal services, your time, for money. So at any given stage of your life, you can see how well you have traded. Have you been a good trader? Did you trade your time well? Did you trade your time for a high standard of living and a nice car and a nice home? Or have you been a poor trader? And most people, as we say, up to 74% have been poor traders. So what you decide is from now on, I'm going to be a good trader. Is I'm going to trade my time for the maximum amount of money I can possibly earn. I'm going to get better and better and better at what I do, and I'm going to do it more and more often. I'm going to do only A tasks all day long, and I'm going to trade my time dearly. Some people trade their time for $25,000 a year. Others wouldn't trade their time for $1 million a year. They consider that to be a real come down. So the critical thing is trade your time well. Now, what is the very best use of your time and money? The very best investment of your time and money? And the answer is to increase your earning ability. And so you should be spending a certain amount of money each week, each month, each year, and a certain amount of time, 2 hours, 5 days a week. I was listening to a friend of mine who's one of the top professionals in success in the United States, and he was talking to several hundred people, and I was the main speaker, but he was speaking. And he got up and he said, you know something? Brian Tracy taught me something many years ago that made me rich. He said, I learned it from him when I was 19 years old. By the time I was 23, I'd made my first million. He said, today I'm financially independent, and I work doing what I enjoy doing, where I enjoy doing it, with whomever I enjoy doing it with. And what he told me was invest 10% of your income back into yourself. Is just reinvest in yourself. You earn $20,000 a year, invest $2,000 into yourself, getting better. Taking courses, reading books, listening to audio programs, doing whatever it takes. Just keep investing 10% into yourself. He said, and what you will get back, he said, I still remember Brian saying this, is you'll get 10, 20, 30 times back in dollars to your personal income for every dollar you invest in yourself. He said, but Brian was wrong on that count. He said, I've gotten $50 to $100 back for every dollar I spent on myself. I came from a poor family with a limited education, with no advantages, and 4 years after I started investing in myself, I was a millionaire. He said, I was further ahead than all the rich kids in school. He said, I had a beautiful car, beautiful home, now a beautiful wife. He said, that investing in myself just changed my life. So the best investment of your time and money is to increase your earning ability. And then the one final point that Dustin makes and Michael makes is, what is the most important part of today? And the answer is action, is what you do afterwards and how quickly you do it. In study after study, we find there's a direct relationship between how quickly you take action after you learn something like this and how likely it is that you will ever take any action at all. So if you hear something good from me or Dustin or Michael, then resolve to take action immediately. Do it now. Do it quickly. Because what they found in psychology is that there's a window of enthusiasm that opens up when you hear a new idea, and this window starts to close very fast. Some people say it closes within 24 hours. Some people say it closes within 90 seconds. But let's just basically say that it's one day. So when this window opens, you must dive through the window and take the action immediately, and then the likelihood of you taking more and more actions is extremely high. But if you don't take the first action, nothing will happen. The window will close, your enthusiasm will dissipate, the work responsibilities of your life will flood into you, the material that you learned here will get put aside. So it's really important that you just take action on one idea. And that one idea, I say it's like going up to the top of a ski slope and pushing off. If you just push off, then you start to go faster and faster, and then you can start to move, and you do all kinds of things, but you've got to push off and take the first action. So this brings us to my favorite subject, long-term thinking versus short-term thinking, fast thinking versus slow thinking, successful versus failure thinking, and it has to do with goals. And the fact is that goal setting is the master skill of success. Your ability to set and achieve goals will do more to guarantee your success faster and more predictably than anything else. I just came back from my third world tour. This last tour, I spoke on sales in Karachi, I spoke on business in Cairo 2 days, and I spoke 3 days in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Moscow again on 3 different seminar topics. Earlier, I was in Poland, and then I was in Belgrade, and then I was in Italy, and talking about sales, personal success, and business. And I always have people come up to me after I've been through one of these cities, a year later, 6 months later, and I've gotten used to it now, whether it's in Japan or Korea or China or Russia or Brazil. They come up to me and they say, you changed my life. You made me rich. Now, the first time I heard that, I think, well, that's a great compliment. I mean, whoa. And so I always asked a logical question, because I teach so many subjects. I said, what was it about my material that helped you so much? And they smile like a Cheshire cat. They say, it was the goals. It was the goals. It was always the goals. And everywhere I go, people say, you changed my life. You made me rich. Sometimes I'll go to a seminar, like I'll be speaking in Bangkok in about 2 weeks. And I've been in Bangkok several times. I used to live there, as a matter of fact. And people will come up, sometimes several people, say, you changed my life. You made me rich. You changed my life. You made me rich. It was the goals. It was always the goals. By the way, I'm the best-selling author in the world on goals. Not only in books, 20... in life, you have turning points. I had 3 major turning points in my life. The first one when I was 21. And you know Jack Canfield is down the hallway speaking to his group. Dear friend of mine for 30 years. And he had the same experience in a different context. He discovered the most important turning point in life was when you accept responsibility for yourself. When you say, I am responsible. Everything that happens to me in my life is up to me. Everything that has happened is up to me. No excuses, no blaming, no criticizing, no complaining. I'm responsible. The acceptance of responsibility is exactly equal to personal power. And personal power is exactly equal to a positive mental attitude. So people who accept responsibility are always positive. They feel powerful. If you blame or try to pass the responsibility onto someone else, you immediately position yourself as a victim, as a weak person, as a little pukey, tiny person, as a child who's not capable of being out in the big bad world. As soon as you say, I'm responsible, you take complete charge of your life and you position yourself as an adult from that moment onward. If you have a problem, solve the problem. Don't run around chasing someone who's supposed to be to blame for it. So that was the turning point for my life. The second turning point was when I discovered goals. And I found a little book that said if you want to achieve goals, you have to write them down. So I found a scrap of paper, I still remember, and I wrote down 10 goals, and I promptly lost the scrap of paper. I was sleeping on the floor of a friend's 1-bedroom, 1-room, whatever it was, crummy, old, cheap, and it had air conditioning. It was too hot to be outside. So I sat there, I wrote down 10 goals, and I lost them. Within 30 days, my life had changed, almost like one of those rockets. It was like this in space. My income had gone up, which I had written down. I had my own place, which I'd written down. I had better clothes, which I'd written down. I'd been promoted to sales manager, it was almost all 10 of the goals I'd written down had been accomplished within 30 days. It was like you're touching a hot electric cord. I go, whoa, I couldn't believe it. Now, I began studying goals, and as I say, I'm the best-selling author, but I've taught goal setting to more than 2 million people, personally, face-to-face, as I'm talking to you. And it's always, you made me rich. You changed my life. You changed my life. You made me rich. It was the goals. And people go from basically struggling when they set goals to suddenly their lives just transform, almost like a miracle, which I'll show you in a couple of seconds. I promise you, after this seminar, your life will never be the same again. I promise you. It's so much fun. It's like going around with magic dust. The third turn in my life was when I discovered the key to achieving goals is continuous personal learning. Continuous learning and development. I still remember each of those 3 points. They were like fireworks going off in my brain. I remember the time, the place, the date, where I was sitting, who I was talking to. I can remember the trees and the sunshine and the street. I remember each of those 3 moments when I accepted responsibility. And then you say responsibility for what? Goals. And how do you achieve your goals? You learn the skills necessary and you practice them every day. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. So with regard to goal setting, there's my book teaches 12 parts of the process. I'm going to teach you a very simplified recipe that you can walk into the kitchen of life and you can whip it up and you can achieve any goal that you set for yourself for the indefinite future, and far faster than most people do. Step number 1 is for you to decide exactly what you want. Be specific. Decide exactly what you want, not generally. If you ask a room full of adults, and I found this many years ago, if you ask a room full of adults, does anybody here have goals? Everybody raises their hand. Well, that's really quite phenomenal because most people don't have goals. So I was mystified. And then I said, well, what are your goals? Oh, I want to be happy. I want to be rich. I want to travel. I want to have a nice family, nice home. I want to have a new car. I want to have my own business. Oh, wait a minute. Those aren't goals. Those are fantasies. They're illusions. They're the same things that people under the control of very strong and good dope have. You know, people in insane asylums that are in straitjackets have the same illusions and fantasies. We say this is a goal with no energy behind it. It's like a cartridge, which you fire in a bullet, but it has no powder in the cartridge. Most people go through life shooting blanks, and they don't even understand why years go by and their lives don't improve. And there's people on either side of them are just streaking ahead, like people driving race cars, and they're just putting along in their old jalopy. And these people aren't smarter or better than them, but they all have one thing different. They have goals. So it's the same as I said before. Let's say you decide to want to travel somewhere, but you don't know where, and you don't have a map, and you don't have any street signs, so you just get in your car and you start to drive. How long would you drive before you ever got anywhere? Most of your life, and that's what 80% of people do. They just drive around in life. Just drive around. Even if they got somewhere, they wouldn't even recognize it because they have no idea what they want. Albert Einstein said, your goal must be so clear that you could explain it to a 6-year-old child, and the 6-year-old child could understand it and explain it to another 6-year-old child who would understand it as well, and the 6-year-old child can also tell you how close you are to the goal. So if you say, I want to be happy, how on earth could a 6-year-old child figure out how close you are to your goal? This is what we'll call an abstract. A real goal is actionable. So step number 2 is write it down. Write it down, write it down. The turning point in my life came when I scribbled out the goals on a piece of paper. Now later I've studied hundreds and thousands of hours, but what I find is when you write something down, you engage in what psychologists call a neuromotor, it's called neuromotor kinesthetic activity. What it means is you see it, you audibly say it, you write it, so you engage your entire brain and body in the writing of the goal. Some people think, well, if I type it up on my telephone or my laptop, that's the same. No, because it doesn't have the power of writing. When you write down a goal in a particular way, which I will teach you, you actually transfer it automatically to your subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind does not think, it does not create. The subconscious mind merely obeys. Whatever you tell the subconscious mind, it goes to work on. Now, you also have another power, which we teach in other courses, which you know about. It's called your superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind is your ability to connect into all the intelligence in the universe, to first of all access everything that you have ever learned in your entire life, almost instantaneously, but also then to contact all the ideas in the universe. So when you have a clear goal, suddenly you trigger, almost like sparks, ideas to achieve the goal. It's the most amazing thing is you'll start to think, I could do this and I could do that. And you see something in a newspaper and somebody mentions something to you in passing, and you watch something on television and somebody sends you a book, and in the book there's it's astonishing. You've heard of the law of attraction. The law of attraction goes back about 4,000 years. The person who wrote the book, The Secret, went through my program 4 times and then still got most of the book wrong because she missed some of the other parts about the law of attraction, which is one of several laws. But anyway, what the law of attraction says is that whatever thoughts you energize emotionally, you create a force field of energy that starts to attract them into your life. Negative or positive, by the way. If you're angry about something or worried about something, like money, then what you do is you attract money problems into your life all the time. If you're excited